And welcome back. And today I'm going to be showing you how one of the screens, the login screens, works. So I'm going to be showing a small demonstration of the login screen, which is right here, and the code that goes behind it. So I have three screens right here. I have my emulator, which runs my app. I have the Firebase right here, which holds all the user info, and my actual code. So what this code does, so over here we have the XML code for the login page. And XML code is just a type of it's like a doc file, except that it's used for designing the app. So you can see it as image view, which is basically create this ABA Pay image, a text view that says better app payment in you, ABA Pay, and it's right here. And an edit text is basically so that we can type. So you can see this is a text view. I cannot type anything here, but this is edit text means I can type, right? And both of these are edit texts, and you can see I put edit text email and edit text password, and I've given these an ID, and I'll brush up on that more. And there's a login button, which is right here, and the text, three more text views that just say don't have an account, and if you press sign up, then it goes to the next place. And lastly, there's something called the progress bar, which is the loading part. All right, so each of these things have an ID. So the ID can be used in Java. So this XML file, basically .xml, is nothing but designing, and the Java part is nothing but giving logic. So if you look at this Java file, we can just go up. So what I'm doing over here is declaring these different things. So I'm saying create, this is a class of private, and I'm saying a type text view and call it register. Now the Java app has no clue what register is, unless when I go under here and say register is equal to a type of text view, and we wanted to link it to one of the IDs called sign up. So what I'm saying is that this register text view is nothing but this sign up right here. You see this? I called it sign up. You see this word right here is called sign up, and that's why I'm saying I created a random name for that text view called register, and I'm linking it to the sign up. Over here now I link this email. The email is another name I've given to an edit text, and I'm linking it to this. The password, nothing but another edit text, and I'm linking it to this. The sign in is a type of button that I'm linking to this. As you can see, it's basically just links. So now what happens from here is user info is going to be given. For user info to be given, we need something that holds all the user info, and that's why we have Firebase. Now the Firebase authentication helps in signing in and creating users. So this time, since we're logging in, we're going to be using the sign in function. So right here we've created something, a random Firebase called mauth, and we've said Firebase auth.getInstance, which means connect to the Firebase auth. And this over here, this is the Firebase auth, the authentication. Okay, so we have the Firebase auth right here. Now what happens with the Firebase auth? So now we create an on-click view listener, an on-click listener. An on-click listener is saying that if you click on one of these things, it's going to do something. So what I'm saying is if you click the sign up, which is this thing, start a new activity, that it moves from the login to the register, right? It's pretty simple. And I'm saying if you press the login button, now the login button has a lot of things it's going to do. It's going to first check if there's the email, it's going to check if the password is right, and it's going to check with Firebase auth to check if the password and email are existent, and all of these things. So for that, we're going to create a function called user login handler, and then under that we're going to define what user login handler is. So we create first a string, which is a type that holds words. So whatever the user types in here, it takes that, so it does the get text, makes it into a string, and trims it if there's some extra spaces or anything. And for we then make some if and else if statements. So it says if the email string is empty, then put an error saying please enter an email. If it does not match with the normal email address format, so like xxx at something random .com or something like that. So then it has to also end with AB. If it does not end with abaoman.org, which is the name for our school's domain, then set another error. If the password is empty, please put a password, and the password length must be at least 6. Alright, so once all of that is good, then it checks. Okay, once it checks, we just have to do one last thing. We put a progress bar after the person presses login, because we don't want them to think that nothing has happened. So when you put a progress bar, which is basically like a loading, the loading circle that's rotating, people know, the user knows that something is happening. So now what we take is our Firebase, the authentication. We say sign in with an email and a password. And now Firebase does not know what is the email and password of this user. So we take the email string which we had created here, which is taken from here, and the password string which is taken from here, that comes from here. Now we create an add on complete listener. Now what this checks is that if the user is actually signed in, and what we're saying is that if it is connected to the Firebase authentication, and it's a success, the connection is a success, then check for if the email account has numbers. The reason I did this is that in our school, the domain, teachers don't have any numbers in their email, and students have numbers in their email. So if I put that if the pattern of the email string matches with any of the numbers between 1 to 9, or has any of the numbers 1 to 9, then start the activity, and this time start the teacher activity, because it does not have any of the numbers. And when I see the progress bar, invisible, which means that the progress bar is going to go, because we don't need it anymore, because the app has successfully logged in, because on success is successful. And if and this else statement is not if it's not successful. This else statement is for if the patterns have the numbers 1 to 9 in them. Then we don't want to start the teacher activity, we want to start the student activity. And activity is basically a screen. And then exactly the same thing, the progress bar, we're going to remove it. Now we're saying else for, and this time the else is for the task is not successful, because over here is successful. So if it's not successful, what we want to say to the user is that it's failed to log in, and we're going to tell the progress bar to go. And then once again, if the user clicks again, and then it's going to try something. It also has something called an get exception and .get message, which is basically if there's no Wi-Fi connected, it will just say failed to log in, Wi-Fi issue, or something like that. And this is basically a whole explanation of the login screen. I hope you understand it. And if you don't understand it, you can always look at the previous video, the functionality video, which will go more in depth with more of the app rather than the code. And if you have any more questions or any more questions about the code itself, you can always ask me in the comment section below. Thank you.